After a successful stint with the World Boxing Hall of Fame, two men began their journey into the business of boxing. Alex Campanova, the young, aspiring matchmaker, and the head of Thompson Building Materials, Ken Thompson, began their quest to bring Southern California fight fans not only good fights, but to build tomorrow's champions. By May of 2000, they had done their first card, and off and running was Thompson Boxing. Running the day-to-day operations of Thompson Boxing is Alex Campanova, who not only serves as their general manager, but their matchmaker. From day one, he has worked to construct this company into what it is today.
You know, I've said this when I was writing for other publications, that Thompson Boxing has the best club program in America. And I don't say that as a pejorative. You guys are a club show, but you develop world-class fighters. Going down the list, the first name I think of is Tim Bradley. Is that right now, and obviously Danny Roman's having a great career. As of right now, is that the hallmark achievement, what you were able to do with the Desert Storm?
It's a huge part of who we are, without a doubt. I got a phone call from his father one day before we turned him pro. We had already signed Josecito Lopez. I had a good conversation with Big Ray. He explained everything to me about his amateur career. I knew a little bit about him from the amateurs. We met, and you know, we clicked immediately. But yeah, it was a hallmark moment for us to get him to a world title in Nottingham, England, and see that everything that we worked so hard for, you know, had that crowning moment.
Chris Arreola passed through these doors. Danny Roman, Josecito Lopez. Now you have Michael Dutchover, Ruben Villa, Ruben Torres. How do you find these guys? I mean, what is the process? Do they come up to you, or do you just sometimes get lucky?
We do get lucky, but a lot of it has to do with the more you try things, the better off you get. You know, the more we went to the well to try to figure out how we're going to do business with this manager or that manager, we started learning the personalities of different people, understanding that we had the same philosophy in how we work. Eddie Gonzalez is a great example. He's brought us basically all his fighters. We've been able to feature all of them. Danny Zamora is the same thing. He started training Yanni Perez. We made him a world champion, and you know, moving forward, he trained Darley Perez. He trained Momo Romero, who was another world champion of ours. And now with the younger generation, with Ruben Torres, Michael Dutchover. So I think it had a lot to do in getting to know the important people that are attached to those fighters.
So obviously relationships are important, matchmaking is important, and I think Danny Roman's been a fascinating case study, because here's a kid that lost twice. In fact, early on in his career, eventually you resuscitated that relationship, and it turned out at the end he was a finished product going into the Adam Lopez fight and a great championship run. That has to be another hallmark achievement for Thompson Boxing. I know, because I know this one right there. Is it even more special than the Tim Bradley run?
It actually proved the point. It proved the point that when we were able to get Timothy Bradley to a world title fight and actually win a title, and then he was the WBC and WBO champion when he fought Kendall Holt, it proved the point that we could do this on our own. Because Danny, see, we were very fortunate in the very beginning. We had a partnership with Gary Shaw, a great friend of ours, that gave us the ability to put Timothy Bradley on Showbox and then Showtime and then move on to HBO. We had the ability to do the same thing with Yanni Perez. He was a Showtime fighter. We had a great relationship, we still do, with Banner Promotion. They helped us with ESPN and all the other opportunities we had. But on Danny, it was a little bit different. I have to give credit to him for sticking with us, to understanding what we were trying to do, and also his manager, who one day, we had a long conversation on the phone, and he goes, I don't remember exactly who he had fought, but he goes, we're ready for the next level. When are we going to go to the next level? And I said, okay, Eddie, we're going to go on a strict diet of tough guys, because we got to get him, at the time it was the NABA title for the WBA, but it's not going to be easy. We're going to have to find the tough challenges to get him to where we want to go. And he says, he's ready. We're going to get him ready. I'm going to get him ready. And to Danny's credit, to Eddie's credit, they were never wrong. And I always say the same thing. The crowning moment when he got the world title in Japan against Shun Kubo, it's not that I knew he was going to win. I didn't know he was going to win in such a way, in such a fashion. He has been one of the most dominating super bantamweights in the world, without a doubt.
Boxing is oftentimes the most unforgiving of sports and the most individual of pursuits, but oftentimes it is a team effort to get fighters to the world-class level. And for Roman, it was his trainer-manager, Eddie Gonzalez, who has been there every step of the way.
You're one of those guys, anytime they have a card, you're at least in one or two of those corners. You've been there for years. You said this earlier. They don't give you the Gerbers. They don't baby you. They're not spoon-feeding you. Do you prefer it that way?
I definitely do. I think just like they do, babying a fighter, taking them to Mexico to fight these kids that can't even fight and build up their records. Your fighter's not going to learn anything. The only way is doing it the old-fashioned way, putting them in there against tough opposition.
There has to be then a shared philosophy then, that in a sense that if you're going to sign a young fighter, you have to let the fighter know that, hey, I'm not giving you 20 gimmies or layups. And then the promoter and the matchmaker have to say, hey, we're going to do it a certain way. And then you as a manager, you have to have faith in the fighter and then also those handling your career. This all works together, does it not?
Absolutely. 100%. Look, I've been working with Thompson Boxing for the last 13, 14 years. And I bring all my fighters to them. And I try to bring them the best product possible. And the ones that I do believe that can make it, and I don't see that they are putting up what they're supposed to put up, I just don't bring them back.
The latest standout developed under the guidance of Thompson Boxing is Danny Roman, who after some early losses was eventually developed into a unified world champion at junior featherweight. He is a shining example of the successful developmental system created by Alex Campanovo and Ken Thompson.
Had a great run from 2017 to 2019. Just off the top of my head, you went to Japan twice, you fought in Chicago, I believe you fought in Frisco, had a homecoming fight in LA, and you fought in the Windy City of Chicago. That was a magical run. What was that like?
Well, it was going so fast. I enjoyed it. I got a great team, Thompson Boxing, Team Roman, a great manager. Like, they guide me the right way, and it was beautiful. I kept on winning, kept on building myself even more as a champion.
Danny, you are an LA guy, and I was there, what I thought was a really good show put on by Matchroom Sports. Thompson Boxing was involved. Unification bout against T.J. Doheny. Growing up, did you ever think you would be headlining at the Forum?
Growing up, I always used to pass by the Forum, and I was like, you know what, it'll be good if I end up fighting someday here. And I had forgot about it till that night. My friends came over, they said, like, you know what, your dream came true, you're finally going to fight home. So I was excited, I was emotional that I was being back home, even as a great fight, a unification bout, the important fight of my career after winning the world title, unifying against T.J. Doheny, the IBF champion, and thank God everything went great, and we brought the victory home.
For decades, Ken Thompson ran Thompson Building Materials with great success. But soon, at the turn of the century, he got the itch and turned his passion for boxing into a business.
20 years you've been in this boxing racket. Do you ever think you'd be in it this long?
20 fabulous years, to be honest with you. Well, yes, I did. We never quit when we get into something, and we love it. Not only is it a business, but it's a passion. You live boxing, and we do that, and the people around us are the same. Every person in boxing, no matter where you go in the world, are exactly the same. No matter what country, no matter what religion or whatever it is. When it comes to boxing, they all talk the same language.
There's an old joke in the boxing business. How do you make $10 million in boxing? Start off with $100 million. So what was your expectations getting in? Because you're a highly successful businessman. You don't actually need to do this. So as you get into it, you get your license, you're doing all the paperwork, you're doing all the logistics. What did you think you were getting into?
You know, you're really not sure. You know, actually, when you love boxing, you're getting into something you really want to be involved in. And then as you grow into it, you realize it's not just events that you're trying to put on. Then you start meeting the boxers. You want to be involved with them. You want to start promoting them. And before it's all over, it's like it's part of your family. So to be honest with you, it's not something you just go into with expectations. You go in with really no expectation and wind up wherever you wind up. But we've been very, very fortunate with having lots of fabulous people in the game with us. We've been working with the same people for over 20 years and beyond that, because at the beginning we were with the World Boxing Hall of Fame. I was president, Alex Campanovo was managing director. So because of that, we had several years of dealing with all of the people in boxing, from managers, promoters, champions from all over the world. So you become familiar with everything and the way they think. And you realize that, you know, it's a little different group. They're great people. Some of the finest people I've ever met in my life are in boxing.
So Ken, obviously your venture into this, which has become much more than just a hobby, was rooted in your interest in the sport. When was the final decision made where you said, okay, let's become promoters?
Well, like I mentioned, we were with the World Boxing Hall of Fame, and it's a nonprofit organization. I didn't really realize that until I became president.
And you're not a nonprofit guy. Let's make that clear.
That's right. So we had to figure out some way to feed it, to capitalize it, get a money stream coming in.
You talked about nurturing a fighter and bringing them up, but that when you sign a young fighter, young fledgling teenager, 0-0, about to make their pro debut, you really do kind of think of them like, hey, you're joining our family, and talk about the satisfaction you get. And let's say a young man like Tim Bradley, who you went from 0-0 all the way up to making millions of dollars on pay-per-view. It's funny because you're in the building business. Right. There is a construction of a fighter that is quite satisfying.
Right, exactly. In other words, when we met Tim Bradley, he came in, we turned him professional. He had a high character, and he was an intelligent young guy. His family was working with him, and that made it easy. He had Joel Diaz as his trainer, who worked hand in glove with him. And he listened, and he paid attention. So it was not like a stranger coming in with a bunch of guys. It was somebody coming in with a family unit with them. And so it made it easy. And as you went along, you realized his character was really good. I mean, this was a young man that could be in any type business and go to the top. And he did that.
Mr. Thompson, I've always noticed about you. I don't know how old you are, but you have a young spirit. And there's this philosophy that if you will always be alive, if you're always working, that retirement has killed more people than work. I want to ask you, is that true?
That's absolutely true. That's the last thing you ever want to do, is retire. That's committing suicide is what it is. You quit something you liked doing to do something that you don't like to do, which is nothing. So why would you ever quit?
The hardest working man in boxing and the happiest man in boxing, Mr. Thompson. Here's to many more years.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Thank you.
2020 marked the 20th year of operations for Thompson Boxing. What was supposed to be a celebratory campaign instead was one that was bogged down by the worldwide pandemic. Yet despite the hardships and inconveniences, eventually the company resumed operations with the 3-2-1 concept, a fast-paced, truncated version of their usual show designed to get their fighters back to work. It was a testament to the consistency and steadfast nature of the company and those who work for it. And welcome everybody to the Omega Products Event Center. I'm Steve Kim for the final edition 2020 of 321 Boxing, brought to you by Thompson Boxing. I'm Steve Kim. Yes, I'm back with my old partner in crime, Doug Fisher. And Doug, tonight we focus on one of the bright young prospects on the West Coast.
Yeah, you're talking about Ruben Ace Torres, and he's got all the tools that Thompson Boxing can cultivate and develop into a legitimate contender. They've done it many times before. They've done it 6 or 7 times over the past 20 years. The great thing about Ruben is he was able to get a fight in before the COVID pandemic really set in February. And because he's with Thompson Boxing, and Thompson Boxing is all about getting back to work and finding ways to stay busy during very challenging times, this is going to be his 3rd fight of the year. He fought in July and looked really good against Oscar Bravo. And tonight, his opponent is just as tough, probably more battle-tested than Bravo is. So I'm expecting him to shine because he steps up his level when the level of competition is stepped up.
A lot of action tonight. Leading our coverage at the desk, we send it to Jessica Rosales.
All right, guys, thank you so much. Now, 2020 has been a lot of different things for everybody, and I think one of the things that we can agree on is that it has definitely been a tough year for a lot of us. And here, we're just so happy to be able to put on 321 Boxing for the fans. You guys are a big part of the success of this show, and even though it's been a tough year, Thompson Boxing is tougher, and we are just so glad to continue to give these shows to you guys, and of course to do it very safely. So we're happy to be here, and we have many more shows coming up, and we will be back early 2021, but we are here at the last show of 2020, and we've got a lot of action coming up, and it's going to be a good night, let me tell you guys. Let's start talking with the main event. Now, this is going to be a very fun fight for you guys tonight. We've got Ruben Ace Torres. We'll be seeing him for the 3rd time in 2020 out there against Jose Luis Rodriguez. Now, the noticeable thing about those two is obviously the difference in the experience. Now, Ace Torres telling us that he is not taking his opponent lightly. He knows that he's got to look good tonight. If he looks good against a guy with that kind of experience, he can prove that he is among the best in his weight class. Now, Rodriguez, on the other hand, is saying that Ace Torres, you know what, he's never seen anybody like him, that this is going to be a tough fight for him. He's been in the ring with some world champions, and that, you know what, Ace just is not ready for him. So that's going to be in the main event tonight. Now, in the co-main event, this one's going to be a fun one as well. We've got Saul Sanchez out there against Mario Hernandez, who just recently had a birthday, so happy late birthday to him. He was telling us that he is exhausted. He's put everything into his training camp and is ready to go out there and have a war against Saul Sanchez. Sanchez telling us that he knows the two of them are very similar. Now, they've got pretty similar records. They're obviously in pretty similar spots in their careers. So they both know that whoever wins tonight, that spotlight is going to be on them to continue to get those big opportunities. So expect a good one in the co-main event. It is scheduled for 8 rounds in the super flyweight division. Now let's talk about the fight that is going to be opening up the action for tonight. Now, these two have got the talking started well before fight week, and I'm talking about the talking between the two of them. We've got Richard Brewart and Luis Hernandez. Now, the two are going back and forth on social media. And I'm pretty sure that this is more than just talk. Now, expect those punches to be flying from the very first bell, and I don't think either of them expects it to get to the last bell. Brewart has been waiting since February to get into the ring, so you can imagine how anxious he is. And Luis Hernandez was telling us that he's been working a lot on his footwork, definitely on those power shots to the body, so expect to see a lot of that tonight. And he even said if he's got to go to Brewart's hometown and beat him in his backyard for some respect, he is ready to do it. Now, that trash talking has been going back and forth. Brewart saying it's about time that he humbles him. So there's been a lot of talk, but I'm expecting a lot more action between these two.
Hernandez. I hope you're ready for a boxing clinic come Sunday. You know, you want all that smoke, so I'm going to send you back home with a long flight.
Richard Brewart, looking forward to that boxing clinic tonight.
Now entering the ring, in the red corner, Luis Hernandez. His opponent in the blue corner, Richard Cool Breeze Brewart. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to welcome you all to the Omega Products International Event Center, Corona, California. It is another edition of 3-2-1 Boxing, proudly presented to you by Thompson Boxing Promotions. Tonight's bouts are being sanctioned by the California State Athletic Commission. Executive Officer is Andy Foster. This bout, set for 6 rounds or less in the junior middleweight division, and being sponsored by Omega Products International. Belgard paves the way. De Acero, Harris Supply Solutions, and Makita Tools. Our judges at ringside are Rudy Barragan, Fernando Villarreal, and Ron Scott Stevens. At the sound of the bell, the man in charge of the ring, referee Raul Cais Jr. And now, 2 undefeated fighters, but someone's gonna take an L tonight. Introducing first, the fighter standing in the red corner. He enters the ring wearing black with white trim. He weighed in at an official 152 1/4 pounds. In his 10th pro bout, he enters the ring with an undefeated record of 8 victories, 1 bout even, 6 of those victories coming by way of KO. Fighting out of Jackson, Mississippi, Luis Hernandez. Across the ring in the blue corner, wearing blue with neon trim, he weighed in at 155 3/4 pounds. He enters the ring for the 8th time as a pro, and like his opponent, he too maintains an unblemished record, consisting of 7 victories, 3 of those victories coming by way of KO. From Rancho Cucamonga, California, Richard Cool Breeze Brewart.
Mouthpiece. All right, gentlemen, you received the instructions in the dressing room. Know what I expect? A good, clean fight. Legal punches, here for you. Legal punches, here for you. Touch gloves, good luck to both of you.
Back up. Richard Brewart at age 22 is 4 years younger, but Hernandez has a slight reach and height advantage.
Ready. Ready.
And we begin round number 1 in our opening bout here. Final edition of 3-2-1 Boxing, presented by Thompson Boxing, their 4th show since the summer.
I like the energy both guys entered the ring with. It's what you would expect from young guys who are unbeaten.
For Richard Brewart, his pro debut took place August 2018 at the Agua Caliente Casino. 4-round decision over Demetrius Wilson. Since that point, the rest of his 6 bouts have taken place at the Doubletree Hotel in Ontario, which is the home base of Thompson Boxing. Doug, he's certainly a fighter that has been affected by the COVID. His last bout was February 21st, a 3rd-round knockout over Eric Martinez, and since that point has been sidelined up until tonight.
Yeah, he's also had some hand injuries that have hampered his career momentum and his activity. I liked what I saw from the first fight. Oh, he just got caught with a left hook and a right.
Brewart up along the corner.
Yeah,
heavy leather being exchanged by both Hernandez and Brewart. Brewart seems to be hurt.
Back. He's got to fight back.
Down goes Brewart, left hook by Hernandez.
7, 8, okay? Walk to me. Walk to me. Hands up. Let's go. Lock.
Brewart gets up, beats the count of Raul Caiz, but he seems to be a little bit glassy-eyed and his legs don't seem to be there. Really rough start for the Cool Breeze Brewart here in round number 1.
Yeah, there's definitely some cobwebs there. We were speaking about his lack of activity and the starts and stops due to the pandemic, but also due to hand injuries. He's not as sharp as we're used to seeing him, but credit to Hernandez. Hernandez entered the ring with a lot of confidence. And he has a very unorthodox style, so I think it's difficult for Brewart to anticipate what Hernandez is going to toss at him. But one thing I like is Hernandez punches with conviction.
Keep this in mind, Hernandez, with a record of 8-0 and 1, 9 fights, has scored 6 stoppages, so he does have some power.
Brewart is an economical puncher, Steve. He doesn't let his hands go until he knows that the opponent is in line to catch that punch.
Stamps a right hand to the body. Now, this is going to be very interesting to see what Henry Ramirez tells him in round number 1. Perhaps the greatest bit of adversity in the young career of Richard Brewart here in round number 1, who hits the deck in our opening bout.
He's an accurate puncher. He doesn't like to waste punches, but he might have to get busy. Let's look at highlights of Hernandez's knockdown. It's just a 2-fisted assault. He came out swinging, and he caught Brewart. I don't think Brewart was expecting this kind of an onslaught from the opening bell. He stayed right on top of Brewart when Brewart's back touched the ropes and kept swinging until Brewart hit the canvas.
And now keep this in mind, this is a relatively short bout, just a 6-rounder, Doug. He is now down 10-8 at the very least on all 3 scorecards, most likely.
Yeah, and you see how composed Hernandez is. Not breathing hard. He didn't get overexcited, even though he kind of threw the kitchen sink at Brewart.
So we begin round number 2 here. Luis Hernandez jumps out to an early lead, and we talked about the relative inactivity of Brewart. For Hernandez, his last bout, Doug, took place February 28th, a 3rd-round stoppage over Diego Morochi. But this is his 3rd bout of the year. February 1st, he scored a 6-round decision over Najik Lewis.
I'll say this about Brewart. He handled that adversity well. He got up. I think you noted that he still looked kind of glassy-eyed, but he was still able to focus, still able to get some respect from Hernandez and get out of the round. And he actually landed some good punches, some good counter punches, maybe in the last 30 seconds of the opening round. I'm seeing Brewart use the left hook more than I'm used to seeing him use it. In previous bouts, it was a good stiff jab and a hard right,
yeah, and you see
either to the body
here,
or head.
Doug, in round number 2, trying to be a little bit more of the aggressor, perhaps initiate some of the action. He got a little bit into trouble in round number 1, perhaps trying to counterpunch off the ropes, and they ran into that onslaught.
Right. I think that is his natural fighter identity in the ring, is that of a counterpuncher. But sometimes you can change your stripes if you're in with an opponent that you're not that familiar with, or who brings kind of an awkwardly aggressive style as Hernandez does.
Brewart making an early investment, another right hand to the body. Been a pretty good
my goodness!
Down goes Hernandez, a blistering right hand over the top by Brewart.
5, 6, 7, 8.
And it's over! Wow! And it's over! Richard Brewart turns the tide in round number 2, Doug. It was a sizzling right hand over the top.
That was a shootout, and that was the money punch that impressed me so much. From the first time I set eyes on Brewart, and that was last February against Abel Reyes, he has such a well-timed right hand.
So a quick synopsis of what was a very action-packed fight, and taking a look at Hernandez, he is still being helped to his stool by the local commissioners and his own corner. Still very unsteady on his legs as he ran into a devastating right hand over the top.
And it was dramatic. Brewart set it up by landing to the body numerous times, and then when he landed that right hand to the ear, you could see it on the face of Hernandez. I mean, his eyes immediately glazed over, his body seized up, and down he goes on his side.
Yeah, it looked like he threw 2 left hands, one a little bit more down towards the chest, and it was the right hand over the top, which finished the job suddenly and dramatically for Richard Brewart.
The end of round 1, Brewart was aiming his right hands to the body, and at the start of round 2, he also was aiming the right hands to the body. So I think Hernandez, when he would see that right hand go, he was anticipating it to go to the body. It landed right upside his head.
Yeah, and Hernandez is still not really all the way there in terms of his wits. They're now taking off his gloves in his corner, and they're going to keep a close eye on him. All right. When we come back, we have a word from our sponsors. More boxing to come here on 3, 2, 1 Boxing.
Paving the way to your personal sanctuary that you simply can't stop thinking about. Find yours at belgard.com.
De Acero es un fabricante de diversos productos de acero con más de 60 años de experiencia en la industria. De Acero tiene un compromiso firme con un crecimiento sustentable que beneficia a la empresa, su medio ambiente, sus empleados y las comunidades donde está presente. Cuenta con la tecnología de punta en sus procesos de fabricación para el cumplimiento de normas de calidad ASTM y otras a nivel internacional para servir a sus clientes en diversas industrias y mercados del acero en México y a lo largo del mundo. Somos Grupo de Acero, una empresa orgullosamente mexicana.
Experience the world's largest compatible cordless system. Makita's LXT batteries take you from power tools to outdoor power equipment. The blower delivers power comparable to a 24cc gas model. From the job site to your home. Reach speeds of 116 miles per hour. Use Makita's cordless products anytime, anywhere. One system, endless possibilities. Now get 2 extra free batteries.
Here at the Omega Products International Event Center, this bout concludes in dramatic fashion with an official time of 1 minute 48 seconds of round number 2. Your winner, by way of knockout and still undefeated, Cool Breeze, Richard Brewart.
And there you have it. Your victor, Richard Brewart, improving to 8-0, scoring his 4th stoppage. And Doug, we talk about young fighters facing adversity. I think tonight can be best described for that young man as a character-developing fight.
Yeah, you know, we knew he had skills. We knew he had poise. We knew he had very sharp technique, but now we learned something about his heart and his character, and that's what it's all about.
Perusing Twitter, Ryan Scalia, good fight guy, says about the fight, Hernandez completely left him off the hook after he dropped him. Brewart was still shaky, and Hernandez backed off and barely did anything for over a minute left in the round. So a quick synopsis. Brewart down in round 1, Hernandez out in round number 2, and it was a right hand over the top that had Hernandez down and out and on shaky legs. And pretty soon we'll be talking to the victor, Richard Brewart, who really, with a statement victory after a very rough beginning as he kicked off our night here at 321 Boxing. We are live from the Omega Products Event Center in Corona, California. This card being brought to you by Thompson Boxing. All right, looks like Mr. Brewart is ready. We send it up to the desk and Jessica Rosales.
All right, guys, joining me now, we've got Richard Cool Breeze Brewart, who now improves his record to 8-0, stays undefeated. And you know what? It was just 2 rounds in there tonight, but you kept it exciting for us. Let's start with the first round. Obviously, you were telling us that that's the first time that you've hit the canvas in your career. So kind of talk us through that. Was that a little bit of ring rust, or was he just a little bit more than you expected?
I don't know if it was ring rust. It was more of he came out wild, and I wasn't expecting super wild. And he just started throwing wild shots and caught me with a body shot, and it hurt. I was trying to do catch and counter, but I heard my corner tell me to take a knee so I could just recover. So I took the knee, and I recovered and came back out the second round and did that.
Yeah, and let's talk about, while you were in the corner in between those rounds, what did your team say to you?
Just to relax, that I was fine. Just to get behind the jab and be smart. Don't just get in wild exchanges with him, just to set everything up.
All right, now let's move it into that second round. That is when the fight ended. Now, one of the things Doug said that he's always liked about you is that overhand right that you threw. Tell us about that punch and why it worked so well for you tonight.
Yeah, when he throws his jab, he was dropping it down a lot, but it was just more of I was setting it up with my jab more than anything. I was measuring, I was jabbing him to the body, jabbing him to the head, and once I saw that left hand drop, I just shot the right hand right behind it.
Yeah, and of course, you know, a nice punch tonight. I mean, when we saw that, we didn't think that he was going to get back up from that one. Yeah. Obviously, the fight ending in the second. How much sweeter is this victory, knowing what went on behind the scenes, the trash talk and all of that happened on social media?
It was a lot better, because a lot of his people, he started it, but then his people just kept going. All I could say was, enjoy that long flight home.
All right, and of course, this being the last show of 2020 for us here on 321 Boxing, is there anything you want to say to everybody at home, maybe the fans, maybe some family? This is your moment.
I just want to thank everybody for coming out, supporting, watching, tuning in to the lives. I want to give a big shout out to all my sponsors. Tattoo Shop AB 3 Foot Radius, Prep Life, my meal company, Frank G Life for YouTube, they work on razors. Another one of my friends named Dom. My parents, my sister, my family, everybody, they all have a big toll in this.
Yeah, you got to thank the family in there. You cannot forget them. So 2021, Cool Breeze, what can we see from you?
A big year. Hopefully that's more of my breakout year. Hopefully we get a TV time eventually. But hopefully I'll be back February, March. I'm staying in the gym, so I'll just be ready for whatever they call me with.
All right, looking forward to that big year after that big knockout that you just had tonight. Congratulations on the win, and of course, thanks for the time.
Thank you.
All right, might be a tough one to follow, but Saul Sanchez and Mario Hernandez up for that challenge. They were telling me that this fight could steal the show tonight. They're both ready for war and ready to give it all they got. We've got the co-main coming up, and that is scheduled for 8 rounds in the super flyweight division.
Over here, face me.
Hey Mario, keep running your mouth. Get ready to throw some blows.
Saul Sanchez, tonight we're gonna see who has bigger balls.
Now entering the ring, in the red corner, Mighty Mario Hernandez. Across the ring in the blue corner, Saul the Beast Sanchez. We continue with the action here at the Omega Products International Event Center. It is 3-2-1 Boxing, proudly presented to you by Thompson Boxing Promotions, in association with and being sponsored by Thompson Building Materials, Henry Fortifiber, Infinity Bank, Western Manufacturing, Makita Tools, and a special acknowledgement to our sponsor, Sir Mix. This bout, 8 rounds in the super flyweight division. Our judges scoring at ringside are Raul Gais Jr., Fernando Villarreal, and Ron Scott Stevens. At the sound of the bell, the third man in the ring, referee Rudy Barragan. Presenting first, the fighter standing in the red corner. He enters wearing black with green and gold trim. He weighed in officially at 114 1/2 pounds. And tonight, he enters the ring in his 13th bout as a pro, with an outstanding record of 10 victories against 1 lone defeat, 1 draw, 3 of those victories coming by way of KO. Fighting out of Santa Ana, California, Mighty Mario Hernandez. Across the ring in the blue corner, wearing white with black trim, he weighed in at an official 115 pounds. In his 16th pro bout, he too maintains an outstanding record of 14 victories, with 1 lone defeat, 8 of those victories coming by way of KO. Representing Pacoima, California, Saul the Beast Sanchez.
Chief seconds also. Good job. Belts are great, guys, okay? You both got your instructions. Protect yourselves at all times and obey my commands at all times, okay? Good luck to you both, 8 rounds.
Let's see how these junior bantamweights match up. Saul Sanchez at age 23 is the younger man. He's the taller man, and he is the more rangy fighter.
And so we begin our second bout of the night, scheduled for 8 rounds in the junior bantamweight division. Saul Sanchez taking on Mario Hernandez. And Sanchez, I think, actually is a young man at a loss for words. Physically very strong, coming off a first-round devastation of Daniel Lozano on October 9th in Kissimmee, Florida.
That fight was at junior featherweight. That was at 122 pounds. They just did it for the exposure, just for the fight. There was a regional title on the line, but Manny Robles will tell you that Saul's place is at 118 or 115.
And you can see early on, Saul Sanchez trying to jump on Hernandez very early, taking control of the center of the ring.
He has an aggressive, athletic boxer style. He has a nice stiff jab, likes to put 2- and 3-punch combinations together, really good speed. He has the athletic edge in this matchup.
Yeah, one thing that Manny Robles noted is that he actually wants Saul Sanchez, who seems to put everything into every punch as he digs to the body, wants him to relax a little bit more. Feint a little bit more, set things up with the jab. Saul Sanchez will fall into the habit of making every punch basically the same velocity and tempo. Wants to get him to be a little bit less repetitive inside that ring.
Yeah, with Hernandez, we have a guy who's used to being busy. He's got a good foundation. I would say modest punching power, but he makes up for that with just his work ethic and his fighting heart.
And we did talk about ring rust earlier for Hernandez. Hails from Santa Ana, California. His last bout was in September of 2019 as he decisioned Jesse Ruiz in 6.
And that was his second victory after suffering his first career loss. That was against Luis Fernando Saverda. And I was at that fight. Called that with Beto Duran. And Hernandez had to get up from a first-round knockdown.
Speaking of Beto, we want to give him our well wishes.
Absolutely.
He's going through some stuff right now.
Yeah.
Beto, if you're out there, we're all thinking about you.
Get well soon, Beto. Hernandez showed me a lot of character in that loss. He was in with a taller, rangier, more athletic fighter with an awkward style, and he tried his best, but it was just too much coming back from the knockdown, and he was hurt after that knockdown in the opening round. But I recall he closed the fight very strong. So.
And Hernandez having a pretty good moment here, digging to the body of Sanchez, outworking him here in the last stages of round number 1.
Yeah, Hernandez is a worker. He's gonna let his hands go, and he's not afraid to stick his nose in there and fight in the pocket.
And both men going inside the pocket, letting their hands go to end the first round of what's been a back and forth first stanza here at the Omega Products Event Center. 3-2-1 boxing. And Doug, speaking of junior bantamweights, it was announced yesterday that the rematch between Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez and Juan Francisco Estrada will take place in March of 2021 at a venue to be announced. And we can honestly say, I think it was about 8-9 years ago, we were actually there the first time they tangled at the no longer there LA Sports Arena.
So much has changed. Estrada was completely unknown at the time.
Yes,
he was really a prospect out of Mexico, and Chocolatito was a pound-for-pound level fighter, and Estrada was so young. I think he was like 22 years old at the time.
And the co-feature that night was Brian Valoria unifying against Luis Tyson Vasquez.
That's right, and in his very next fight, Estrada dethroned.
But at the last minute or so, the play was taken by Hernandez, and Hernandez here in round number 2, out-hustling Sanchez early on.
Yeah, I gave a slight edge to Hernandez, who's
good body
getting
shot.
Overpowered. Yeah, getting overpowered right now.
One thing is evident, though, being here ringside, Doug. Both men are throwing as hard as they can, but it is Sanchez with the advantage in power, and he seems to have shaken up Hernandez here in the second.
Yeah, there's more velocity on his shots. Better leverage, too, in part because he's taller and rangier.
A left hook to the body certainly got the attention of Hernandez.
That first round KO that Sanchez scored in his last fight was really off of a body shot knockdown. And I have noticed that when Sanchez throws a 3 or 4 punch combination, he likes to stick a body shot in there.
There's a good counter left hook by Sanchez. Sanchez really finding his groove here in the second.
Yeah, he's getting off well, and then he's moving out of reach of Hernandez. Hernandez has to be inside to get anything done.
Stay on the inside, Mark. No. Get close. Stay there. There you go. There you go. Just walk in with a feint or behind the jab.
And because we're here in this makeshift studio without an audience, we can hear every instruction being yelled from the corners. It's Hector Lopez in the corner of Hernandez and Manny Robles in the corner of Sanchez.
Hernandez seems to have steadied himself after some very rocky moments earlier in this round. Sanchez loading up on a lot of punches, heading into the last minute of round number 2. We are scheduled for 8.
You know what? I was going to call Sanchez's jab a stiff jab, but that's a shotgun jab. And he can often camouflage that jab and then turn it into a hook at the last second.
You know, one thing's very evident, though, Doug. The punches of Sanchez seem to have just a little bit more power, a little bit more vigor than Hernandez.
Definitely, more snap, more pop. And right now, they're having more of an effect.
Do it again.
You guys got about 5 seconds, guys. Stop the bell.
And another action-packed round. Sanchez finishes it off with a right hand right at the bell and walking into the ring. And there you see some of our main event performers and their camps walking up the stairs. For people who've never been here, it's my first time actually, this is at the mezzanine level of the Omega Products Event Center. And really we're surrounded by a warehouse full of construction material.
It's pretty cool. They do a great job. Yeah, just the production, but just the setup with the lighting and everything. We got the smoke in the air. It's kind of like a nightclub or something.
Yeah, and for Thompson Boxing, since July, this is their 4th show as they wrap up their 20th year of operations. I really admire any company at this point that can do fights basically in what is their versions of the bubble.
Yeah.
There you go.
And Sanchez again begins the round very quickly, digging from his heels, landing big left hooks, but Hernandez unbowed tries to stick right in there with him. You get the sense Hernandez needs to be up close and really more or less kind of smother some of the longer arms and the shots of Sanchez.
Yeah, and when he's inside, he needs to work the body of Sanchez, even if he's hitting arms and elbows, because he needs to take some speed off of Sanchez's fastballs. But it also behooves him to be in close because he's vulnerable to Sanchez's power when he's mid-range or at a distance.
There are times that Sanchez literally just seems to thrust his whole body into his punches, like right there with that right hand that came up short. That right hand lands, and so does that one.
Sanchez has a mean 1-2 combination.
Get the sense, though, with Sanchez, Doug, he's one of these guys who's more physically strong than actually being a devastating puncher.
That's true.
We've seen that dynamic with many other fighters.
You know, and if that's the case, like if his power doesn't increase with just his physical maturity, say like when he's 24 or whatever, I think it's probably better for him to focus on his technique and his speed.
Well, that's what Manny Robles was talking about, was rounding out some of the rough edges. If you go back to his loss to Edwin Rodriguez, a split decision in 10 rounds last summer, you kind of saw how at times he did become one-dimensional, not only in his punch placement, but also his rhythm inside that ring.
It's just that mentality of loading up with power shots over and over again.
Now you see Hernandez trudging forward.
Yep, this is what I was talking about. Hernandez has that character. He's got the guts that even when he's stung or hurt, it's in his character to get up and work extra hard. So I think Hernandez is really at his best as a pressure fighter and a volume puncher. And you can hear Hector Lopez tell him, you know, bang that body. Every time you're in close, bang the body. That was a nice jab to the body from Hernandez. One thing you got to wonder about guys like Sanchez when they load up as much as they do is after a couple of rounds, are they going to peter out?
Well, yeah. Well, now Hernandez having a pretty good moment as he backs up Sanchez along the ropes.
Yeah, he landed a nice uppercut.
Is not one of these fighters I would describe as fuel efficient.
Right.
You know, guys that can get better throughout the night as they kind of find their groove. Sanchez is a guy that's going to start off really fast, and if he can't get you out of there within the first 3-4 rounds, it does leave you questions about how do they fare in the deep end of the pool.
This has turned into a competitive round. It looked like it was going to be a one-sided round in favor of Sanchez, but Hernandez has come on really strong in the final minute.
Doug, last night in San Antonio, Texas, another, I think, notch on the belt for maybe the best fighter in the sport, or a guy that's on a lot of these pound-for-pound lists at the very top as we take a look at some of the action between Hernandez and Sanchez.
Yeah, this is probably the close of the round because it's Hernandez pressing Sanchez to the ropes, letting his hands go, banging the body with his right, coming over the top with his right, and there was a nice uppercut inside. That could have won him the round on at least one of the 3 official scorecards, Steve. I actually scored that round for Sanchez because I thought he started the first half of it. He was so strong and he was landing with more power.
Yeah. And Doug, as I was saying before the replay, Saul Alvarez captures the WBA super middleweight title with a conclusive dominant victory.
Do not fail to mention the Ring Magazine title.
And the Ring Magazine title.
Sit next to the editor-in-chief here.
Against Callum Smith. Your thoughts on Canelo's performance last night?
I thought he would have a tougher time. I mean, I favored him like most people did. I thought it would, you know, if it didn't go the distance, he would have to really work hard to stop Callum Smith. But I thought Callum Smith would win some rounds, legitimately win rounds. I scored the opening round for Smith, and that's it. It was all Canelo Alvarez. And I think it was the type of performance where if you're a Canelo Alvarez critic and you're one of those folks who said, you know, he shouldn't be #1 pound for pound, he gave you second thoughts. He was like, he made you think maybe this dude is pound for pound. And you see right here, I have this a close fight, 29-28 in favor of Sanchez. But that third round could have easily gone to Hernandez. So you could flip those scores. We have a fight on our hands, Steve.
Yeah, once again, Sanchez and Hernandez battling it out on the inside. Neither man really taking control of this fight in terms of the strategic or physical dominance. Both men having their moments, almost trading bits and parts of this fight where they are in control.
Yeah, these are even exchanges, but I'm very impressed with Hernandez because he's the one who was hurt, looked like he was hurt or buzzed in round 2, and right now he's earning some respect and you know, putting hands on young Sanchez. Sanchez is putting it right back on him, though.
Hernandez with a very, very dogged, determined effort here in round number 4 and throughout the night. After a quick start by Sanchez, he is settled in and he has now found himself in a legitimate battle. That's one of the things I think Manny Robles is going to look at. If you look at Sanchez, he's a taller guy, better reach. And as they review the film, you might tell Sanchez he lands a good one too.
Yeah.
Why not establish the jab just a little bit more and try to be a little bit better from the perimeter? But that just may not be his temperament inside the ring.
Yeah. Well, you know, Manny used to work with Oscar Valdez, and he had sort of the same mentality where he was swinging for the home run with every punch. And I think it is difficult to kind of convince a young fighter who's, you know, a good athlete and gets into great shape and just likes to fight, just to convince him that sometimes less is more.
Yeah, every time you see Sanchez throw a punch, you get the sense he's throwing every single ounce of himself into it.
Yeah, and he could do a lot just by working his jab. He could conserve his energy. He doesn't have to put everything into that left stick, and he could pile up points, wear out the face of Hernandez, keep Hernandez on the outside, and just pick his spots when you drop that right hand. But I just think it's Sanchez's mentality. As his nickname would allude, he's a beast. I just think it's in his mindset to go out there and wage war.
So another close round between Sanchez and Hernandez. Hernandez backing up Sanchez for much of the round, and a pretty strong finish for round number 4 for Saul Sanchez. We are now halfway through this scheduled 8-rounder. And Doug, you talk about fighters being able to change pace. Going back to Canelo, when you watch a guy like him fight, you really see the mastery and the craft. Because there's a guy, he does change tempos and pacing, and the way he places punches, it also changes speed on them.
Right.
It's just masterful.
So he walked a giant down at the start of the fight. You look at these guys, and you're thinking Canelo is not in this guy's weight class. They looked at like different weight classes because Smith is so big, so much taller, and so much rangier. And yet Canelo was putting mental pressure on him as he was walking him down because Callum didn't know what to expect from Alvarez. And one thing I really admired about that performance, Alvarez's ability to out-jab a taller, rangier man.
Yeah, Callum was going to win every jump ball. He was not going to win that fight.
That's right.
All right, so we begin round number 5 here. Saul Sanchez, Mario Hernandez digging in. It's been a good pitched battle between these two hard-nosed young men who have been a staple of the Thompson Boxing program. Most of their fights have taken place at the Doubletree Hotel in Ontario, California.
Yeah, this has been more of a fight than a boxing match, although both guys have nice technique. You can see some wear and tear on both faces, a little puffiness under the eyes. I think more so around the right eye of Hernandez. And I like to see Hernandez work his way in with a jab.
Oh, and he gets caught a good, clean check hook from Sanchez off the ropes.
Yeah, and nice spin move, you know. Sanchez lands that punch and then moves out of position. Or moves out of range. He's actually moving in position for himself to land another shot like he just did right there.
I think it's safe to say Sanchez probably has the better physical tools, but Hernandez, to his credit, is so doggone pesky.
Yeah, he's the more mature fighter. He's 30, so he knows it's now or never. He has to make something happen, so I mean, he's always going to fight with a sense of urgency. But he's just got this kind of pride where he can be hurt in a fight, or you know, he can be outgunned or in with a bigger, stronger, better athletic talent, and he just digs in. He accepts the challenge, and he keeps working.
Good left hook to the body by Sanchez. Sanchez is finding some success here, Doug, in this round, counter-punching off the ropes, though. I will give him credit for that.
He's having a moment right here, but he worked his way inside with 3 jabs. Yeah.
Okay.
Time. It's going to be a timeout.
And Hernandez will get up to 5 minutes to recover from that foul. Been a relatively clean fight despite the intensity of both Sanchez and Hernandez. It's been a pitched battle inside the pocket.
Yeah, both guys probably welcomed this breather. Hernandez, of course, being a fighter, he was ready to get right back into it.
Let's go, box.
And I can understand why he would, despite taking a low blows, because he was in command at the time. He was getting off. He was on the inside and putting hands on Sanchez. And now, of course, Sanchez is turning it right around.
Sanchez liberally letting his hands go here at the end of the 5th, coming into the last minute. But Hernandez is undeterred, still stepping forward, still crowding Sanchez along the ropes.
Yeah.
Now you see blood coming out of the right nostril of Sanchez. So this has certainly been
Hernandez is landing shots.
Battle.
This is a hell of a round. And I think Sanchez obviously landing the harder shots and some head snapping shots, but Hernandez has stayed on top of Sanchez, and he's getting off and he's landing his shots, and he's starting to do damage just by accumulation.
Keep working, keep working, keep working.
And that's the end of round 5. And Doug, I think it's a close one. Do you like the flashy, harder punches of Sanchez, or do you like the consistency of Hernandez?
In that last round, I like the consistency of Hernandez. But legitimately close round. And actually the last 3 rounds have been close. Not an easy fight to score.
Doug, as we wrap it up on Canelo talk here throughout the middle of this fight, if you could wave a magic wand, as not just the editor of Ring Magazine, but also the commissioner of boxing.
Oh, yes.
Who does Canelo face next?
Oh, man. You know what? I want to see him in there with a big guy who is willing to use his size. I'm sick of seeing these big dudes. We saw it with Callum. We saw it with Sergey Kovalev. We saw it with Danny Jacobs, who are avoiding a 5'8" guy. I want to see a big man fight like a big man, and the one guy out there who will do that is David Benavidez.
Ooh.
He's crazy. He's strong. He's got pride. He's just a natural aggressor, and that's what I want to see. I want to see somebody push Canelo back on his heels. I want to see somebody outwork Canelo.
Well, speaking of being put on their heels and fighting, we have a good one between Saul Sanchez and Mario Hernandez coming down the home stretch. Round 6, we are scheduled for 8. Both men landing leather.
This is some good infighting.
Honestly, Doug, there's not a lot separating these two right now.
No, there isn't. Especially on close quarters, Hernandez can hang with Sanchez. Close quarters, he can even get the better of him at times. So it behooves Sanchez to get some distance and to control that distance. He's not doing that.
Nice right hand, Mario. Let's go, nice uppercut. Let's go, nice uppercut. Let's go.
Both trainers like what they're seeing from their fighters.
Nice body shot. Settle down.
And you can see it's getting close. I scored the last round, round 5 for Hernandez. Just thought he outworked him, got in his grill, kept him on the ropes, and put hands on the younger, bigger, stronger opponent. But I still have Sanchez up by 1 point. Does Sanchez look a little bit fatigued to you?
No, he does. I don't think there's any doubt. There's a little bit of steam left off of his punches that was very evident in round 1, 2, and 3. But again, we said this. He's the type of guy that's going to really clinch his fist as hard as he can on every punch and punch from his heels. Those fighters generally are going to have a bit of an issue down the stretch. So we saw a fight like that on Friday with Gongora, making a late rally against Ali Akhmedov.
Oh yeah, Carlos Gongora, that's one of the upsets of the year, or it's an upset of the year candidate.
And Doug, he was like the tortoise versus the hare. Akhmedov jumped off real quickly with power punching, but the smooth technician in Gongora just literally just picked him apart.
And you know what? Like Sanchez, Akhmedov was loading up with every shot. Definitely headhunting.
Oh, that was a pretty good right hand, a good combination by Sanchez. Sanchez again. Letting his hands go, 2-3 punches at a time. Hernandez seems to be buzzed.
Yeah, I thought this was Hernandez's round. No, he's coming back, getting Sanchez against the ropes, working the body and working the head. But that moment of trouble that Hernandez in, that might be enough to sway this round for Sanchez.
When it comes down to it, the punches of Sanchez are just a little bit harder with a little bit more velocity, but Hernandez showing an incredible amount of determination in another close round between Sanchez and Hernandez as they come down the stretch.
This is a hell of a fight. I hope people are watching. Sanchez teeing off with 1-2s, hook cross combinations on the inside.
And Doug, you just look at the facial expression of Sanchez. You could just see him grimacing. And one habit I think they're going to try to fix, I don't know if they can, his mouth is wide open. That's something you generally don't want.
But that flurry right there, that salvo from Sanchez won him round 6 on my card. And that was a round, until that point, I thought it was Hernandez's round. He does look tired, though, between rounds here. Let's see if Hernandez can take advantage of that.
Sanchez, after a stint with Joel Diaz in Coachella, has been reunited with Manny Robles. Well-respected trainer, best known, I guess, for his Cinderella run with Andy Ruiz, now in charge of Sergey Bohachuk, very good junior middleweight prospect.
What's the matter, Papa? No more punching, no more punching.
Doug, there's 6 minutes to go here. I think both corners have to tell their guys, we need both these rounds.
Yeah, and I think it's all about activity for Hernandez. Get inside and just outwork Sanchez, because Sanchez is petering out a little bit. but he's still dangerous. Oh, that's nice. Nice triple jab from Sanchez on the fly. I think that's what he really needs to be doing. He needs to control the distance.
Don't chase him like that.
Hernandez has got to get his jab going just to disrupt Sanchez's jab and also to enable him to step forward and get in close.
Good right hand by Sanchez.
Back to the jab. No, don't run in, Mario. Back to the jab.
And you can hear the corner of Hernandez imploring their fighter not to run in so recklessly as he has been able to run, has not been able to necessarily avoid some of the counter salvos of Sanchez here in the late stages.
Sanchez is boxing smart in round 7. He's controlling the distance with his jab and his lateral movement. Oh,
there's another fearing jab there by Sanchez, snapping the head back of Hernandez.
Like I said earlier, that's a shotgun jab.
See, I think this is the stuff that Manny Robles is going to like, that it doesn't always have to be all offense. There's a way to kind of shorten fights and strategically win them with not expelling so much energy all the time.
Yeah, especially against a shorter opponent with shorter arms, who doesn't have the fastest feet. And lateral movement alone is going to cause Hernandez problems, and we're seeing it in this round.
1-2, Saul. 1-2, Saul. Over the top.
Under a minute to go here in round number 7. It's been an effective one for Sanchez, although Hernandez having some success here, letting both hands go, then a quick 1-2 in return by Saul Sanchez. And you can see Sanchez, there's a particular pattern. When he's on the ropes, he's going to look for that counter left hook or the right hand right down the middle as he employs that catch and counter. You know, there's been a lot of punches landed when the Everlast logo on one of the gloves is basically fading from Saul Sanchez.
This has been a high activity fight, high contact fight as well. You'll see the blood from the nostrils of Sanchez. You see the swelling around the right eye of Hernandez. Hernandez is doggedly determined.
7 down, 1 to go. It's been a nip and tuck affair between Sanchez and Hernandez.
I think Hernandez has to do something big in this 8th and final round, though. I just don't know if he has the power to drop Sanchez.
Ladies and gentlemen, here at the Omega Products International Event Center, 1 more to go. This is the 8th and final round.
All the weeks and months of road work, time in the gym, and discipline, it's really for moments like this. 3 minutes to go, both young men. Hernandez, older at age 30, looking to really revive his career after a loss back in February of 2019, and Sanchez trying to continue his ascent up the junior bantamweight limit. Got 3 minutes to go. We begin round number 8. Both men starting off quickly, exchanging 1-2s. Good right hand by Sanchez.
Yeah, and Sanchez's punches are shifting Hernandez. They're causing his head to turn and for him to take like half a step back. Now, Steve, I wonder here, was it Hernandez who pushed Sanchez back to the ropes, or was that Sanchez willingly going to the ropes?
I think there is a strategic element to what Sanchez is doing. He feels very comfortable timing and counter-punching Hernandez, and once again he digs the left hook to the body. You know, I wouldn't call him a natural counter-puncher, but against Hernandez, he seems very comfortable. Oh, good right hand over the top. That hurts Hernandez.
Yeah, landed right to the ear and caused Hernandez to lose his footing.
Take him right up the middle. Back him up. Back him up. Put him down. More than one, baby. Don't push him. Inside. Right inside. Let's go. Put the middle forward, Mario. Pick him up. Pick him up. Nice body shot. Set up that 1-2. Come back up. Pick him up. Come back up. Work. No, Get your hands up. 1, 2.
Halfway through round number 8, it's been a pretty good one for Sanchez. Hernandez eats a right hand, but he remains undeterred, putting on a really determined effort here in round number 8 and throughout the night.
Yeah, hats off to both fighters. They've both given a tremendous effort. And they're fighting this 8th round very hard. So they're emptying the tank, trying to close the show properly. And I think they put on a really, Sanchez's punches have straight low more than once.
There was a good left hook right to the gut of Hernandez, but Hernandez just keeps trudging forward, crowding Sanchez right up along the corner, his own corner. Under a minute to go here in this battle. It's been a pitched battle throughout the first 8 rounds and nothing has changed. Saul Sanchez came into this bout with a record of 14-1, Hernandez 10-1-1.
Both guys 2 bouts removed from the first career losses, and I think losses make young fighters better. It gives them something to fight for, to train for. They go over their mistakes, whatever they did wrong, and they correct that, and they come back better. And they always come back more determined, and you're seeing determination from both sides.
Sanchez landing some good strafing right hands here in round number 8, punctuating what has been a very good effort. Hernandez trying to finish off this fight, putting an exclamation point on what's been a very admirable effort, and that's it. 8 down between Sanchez and Hernandez in what was a back-and-forth battle throughout.
Yeah, I got Sanchez winning handily, but there were some close rounds that perhaps could have gone to Hernandez, and who knows, maybe they did on 1 or 2 of the official judges' scorecards, but I think Sanchez earned this 8-round decision.
Yeah, I get the sense that Hernandez certainly made it very difficult, made it tough. He was not an easy out, but in every round, especially out of the close ones, I get the sense it was Sanchez harder punching, a little bit more accurate, and his punches did just a bit more damage. So up next, our main event, Ruben Ace Torres, highly touted puncher from the Southern California area, takes on Jose Luis Rodriguez, coming up here on 321 Boxing from the Omega Products Event Center here in Corona, California. We'll come back with more action.
Discover the advantages of the Henry Fortifiber 123 Moisture Control System. It's as simple as 1, 2, 3. Choose the weather barrier, add the flashing, then finish up with the Henry Moist Top Sealant. Done. No guessing, no gambling. Just the winning confidence you get from our compatible systems.
Experience Makita's cordless outdoor power equipment. The mower is a part of the world's largest battery system and cuts non-stop for up to 2 miles. The self-propelled model makes mowing effortless. Get unstoppable power without the hassles of gas. Reach speeds of up to 116 miles per hour with the single battery blower. One system, endless possibilities. Now get 2 extra free batteries.
After going the distance here at the Omega Products International Event Center, we consult the official scorecard to determine a winner. Judges Skies Jr. and Villarreal turn in identical scorecards of 78 to 74. And Judge Stevens scores it 79 to 73. All in favor of the winner by way of unanimous decision. The Beast, Saul Sanchez.
So there you have it. Saul Sanchez getting his hands raised in victory. Your scores once again, 78-74 twice, 79-73. So basically 6 rounds to 2,
Yeah.
and then 7 rounds to 1. And Doug, you know, with Sanchez, he's going to be a guy, he's always going to throw hard punches, and he's going to think later. But I thought there was a little bit of nuance to this performance tonight, counter-punching off the ropes, working off the ropes. But you get the sense Manny Robles still has a lot of work to do.
Yeah, well, he's 23 years old. He's still learning. He's still growing. I can see him mature into a solid bantamweight, maybe eventually find his way to 122 pounds. But tonight he had a strong and strong-willed 115-pounder in his chest, and that forced him to change things up a little bit and to evolve a little bit. Over 8 rounds.
Yeah, certainly an admirable performance by Mario Hernandez. He did not go gently into the night, made it very difficult for all 24 minutes against the hard-hitting and physical Saul Sanchez, who will soon join Jessica Rosales at the desk to talk about his performance. And remember, coming up, we still have our main event, one of the very best prospects on the West Coast. Ruben Ace Torres closes out his year on what is the final installment of 3-2-1 Boxing, brought to you by Thompson Boxing. And we're being told that Mr. Sanchez is up at the desk. We send it to Jessica Rosales.
All right, guys, joining me now, we've got Saul the Beast Sanchez in a fun fight tonight. Now, you guys talked about this. You said that this was going to be war. This was going to be for the fans. And I watched on the live stream. I was reading the comments, and people loved tonight's fight. Talk me through your performance and how you feel after that back and forth for 8 rounds.
I felt good in there. Just I started a little late, you know. I started feeling myself like towards the end, the last rounds. So, yeah. But it is what it is. I felt good though.
Yeah,
My
and of
condition
course,
was there.
Going back and forth for those 8 rounds. Tell me about Hernandez a little bit. What kind of gave you the most trouble with him?
Throwing a lot. He smothered me a lot. So that was the only problem really.
Yep.
But he was just like more pushing, like, you know,
yeah.
Just not throwing punches right.
Yeah, and I heard at one point, you know, Manny telling you, don't take your foot off the gas, telling you to keep going.
Yeah, he wanted me to go forward and put the pressure on him. But yeah, it worked good.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I did it the last rounds.
And after so many rounds, you know, you're starting to get a little tired out there. How did you continue to push through till that final round?
I didn't have. I trained hard, so it wasn't really a problem. You know, it was just a style. Really, it was just pressuring me.
Yeah. And did you feel that you controlled most of this fight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he was just more smothering me more. So really, it wasn't throwing like real punches, just smothering.
Yeah. Now, one of the things
I didn't see, so it just felt like it.
You talked about is how similar the two of you guys are, where you are in your careers as far as records go and everything, and you knew that if you won tonight, that would mean bigger things for you next year, getting you, you know, closer to a possible title shot.
Yeah.
How do you feel tonight's performance is getting you on that right path? Do you think that you did enough tonight?
Yeah. It's my first fight back since I think it's 6 months in February. Was it 6 months? It was. I fought in my last fight was in October, but it was just a round.
Right.
So it wasn't really like a fight, but I felt good. You know, I was a little ring rust because, I mean, my last fight was in October, but it was just like, it wasn't even a round. So.
Right. So, it didn't quite feel the same way as this 8-round fight did.
No. But I felt good in there, getting ready.
All right. Well, 2021 is coming up.
Yeah.
What do you hope to see in that year?
Hopefully, you step up in competition more. Go out, fight better fighters more.
Yeah. You had a lot of people on that stream tonight that were watching you, that were cheering you on. What do you want to say to everybody that was watching tonight, that was supporting you at home?
Thank you all for the support, and thank you for watching, my family, my friends, and yeah. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thanks for the great fight tonight, and we're looking forward to what's in the future.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much. All right, now as you can see behind us, we've got the ring, we've got the lights, and it all looks really cool on the live stream, wherever it is that you're watching. And I know that you see the photos on social media, but what you don't get to see is all of the hard work that goes behind the scenes to get all of this up and running. Now, the ring has been in place since July, and our stage crew, they are in here since 5 in the morning, working tirelessly, covering 54 skylights. Takes them all day to do it, but they get the job done. And the best part about it is that they do it with a smile because they love what they're doing and they love bringing you these 3-2-1 boxing shows. Now, a lot of the people that work on these productions don't have just one job. They've got about 50 jobs in there. It's a very small crew, but they are very strong. And of course, they spend so much time together that they start to become like family.
I'm excited to be on the show tonight, especially as your main event, ready to put on a great show. Rodriguez has been in there with some tough competitors, but he's never been in there with me, so he's going to see that I'm going to come and attack him from all different angles. It was a hell of a camp, a lot of great sparring. We was in Big Bear with Arnold Barboza Jr., in San Diego with Oscar Valdez, helping out Chon Cepeda for his fight, and also a lot of sparring with Michael Dutchover, who is my stablemate. So we're in great shape, ready for whatever comes. It's gonna be an early one. It's gonna be an early knockout. Whether it be by TKO or knockout, I'm gonna put Herning on this too.
$137.8. Una cosa. Me siento bien. Me avisaron con.
My preparation was for this fight was tremendous. I had a lot of good work. I'm always in good shape, always staying ready for a fight. But once I got the call for this fight, knowing who I'm fighting, I even put much more effort in it. I'm ready to go the 8 rounds, and I'm ready to take care of business. I don't know much about my opponent. Originally, I was going to fight Michael Dutchover, and it was changed. But it makes no difference for me. I'm ready for a good fight. I'm confident in my ability. I'm not underestimating what Torres is capable of doing, but I'm ready for a good battle.
Pues espero que vean la pelea. Se van a llevar un buen sabor de boca.
I want to give it my all tonight. I want to make sure that all the fans enjoy this fight, and when they finish watching the show, they're happy that they saw me inside the ring. I'm going to give it my best.
Entering the ring, in the red corner, Jose Luis La Boa Rodriguez. His opponent, in the blue corner, Ruben Ace Torres. From the Omega Products International Event Center, we continue with the action. This is 3-2-1 Boxing, presented to you by Thompson Boxing Promotions, in association with and being sponsored by Thompson Building Materials, transforming spaces into beautiful places with locations throughout California. Omega Products International, the leading stucco manufacturer in the United States. Henry Fortifiber, Moisture System Control, easy as 1, 2, 3, and Makita Tools. Rule the outdoors, ladies and gentlemen. Prepare to be entertained. This is the main event of the evening. 8 rounds in the super lightweight division. Our judges scoring at ringside are Rudy Barragan, Francisco Villarreal, and Ron Scott Stevens. At the sound of the bell, the man in charge of the ring, referee Raul Cais Jr. Now, from Corona, California, the moment has come to find out quién es el más macho. Presenting first, standing in the red corner, wearing the colors of Mexico, green, white, and red. He weighed in officially at 137.5 pounds. Tonight, he enters the ring in his 40th professional bout with an extensive record consisting of 25 victories against 13 losses, 1 draw, 13 of those victories coming by way of knockout. Representing Monterrey, Nuevo León, Mexico, La Boa, Jose Luis Rodriguez. Across the ring in the blue corner, wearing dark blue with light blue and white trim. His official weight, 137.25 pounds. Tonight, in his 14th professional bout, he puts his undefeated record on the line, consisting of 13 victories, 11 of those victories coming by way of KO. Fighting out of Santa Fe Springs, California, Ruben Ace Torres.
All right, gentlemen, you received the instructions in the dressing room. Know what I expect? A good, clean fight. Ya recibieron las instrucciones que una pelea limpia. Golpe legales, legal punches. These are a bit high. Here for you. Here for you. Touch gloves, good luck to both of you. Buenos de los dos.
Ruben Torres is the younger man. He is the taller man with the longer reach.
Listo. Ready.
And we begin our main event of the night. And Doug, I guess the best way to describe a guy like Rodriguez is grizzled veteran. On his ledger are names like Pedraza, Mario Barrios, Felix Verdejo, and Sharif Bogheri. And for the most part, he has been fairly durable against those foes.
Yeah, he is battle-tested. He's a pressure fighter. He wants to maul his opponents. He wants to get inside and work the body and throw short hooks and overhand rights. So it's all about controlling the distance with Ace Torres. And he showed against his last opponent, Oscar Bravo, who had a similar style as Rodriguez, that he can do that.
A little hard right hand to the body by Torres, who really has a lot of snap and torque early on with both hands.
Torres is smart to aim some shots to the body on the from the onset, because the one time that Rodriguez was stopped, and all those names that you mentioned, it was Mario Barrios who did it, and he did it with a body shot. But that fight is on YouTube. If you guys go out and watch that, Rodriguez gave Barrios a really tough fight.
Doug, it was 3 summers ago, Beto Duran and I actually called Torres' pro debut outside of this venue. And he's coming off a long hiatus from the sport of boxing. To call him an off-the-radar prospect is probably the most apt description, given the fact he was actually out of the sport for about 3 years. Long right hand again by Torres.
He recharged his batteries during that hiatus, because this dude, he's got it all. I mean, he has the athleticism, he has the ring intelligence, he's got the technique. I mean, every punch that he throws just has, it's so purposeful.
Doug, me and you have spoken to young fighters for years, and when they become a certain age, a lot of them actually do admit to you they're burnt out on the sport.
Oh yeah, a lot of guys are burnt out after their amateur career.
Right hand to the body by Torres. You can just really feel the velocity and just the torque of Ruben Torres' punches.
Yeah, I'm impressed that Rodriguez has been able to take these shots as well as he has. But I like how poised and patient Torres is being.
There he stabs to the body with the jab.
I love Torres. I love his jab. You know, Steve, I think it was I'm going to say maybe a year and a half ago when you had first gone to ESPN, and I took your place on these streams alongside Beto Duran. You told me the one guy to really keep my eye on was Ruben Torres. And I said, okay, he's on this card, and you weren't wrong. Like, he just has that. Something about his style and the way he goes about breaking down his opponents, it's very impressive.
And we are finished with round number 1. And Doug, to your point, you take a look at Thompson Boxing history. The 2 biggest names that they have developed certainly are the Desert Storm Tim Bradley, who I believe one day will be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, he's worthy.
Danny Roman, who was recently a unified champion at 122. Then other luminaries have had very good careers like Jose Cito Lopez, Mauricio Herrera. Yanni Perez was a world champion. I just
bantamweight champ.
Physically, the upside and the ceiling of Torres. He's just a long, lean stick of dynamite. And in his corner right there talking to him is Danny Zamora, who has some other good prospects like Michael Dutchover, who was originally scheduled to headline this card, came up with a back injury. Ruben Villa, who recently fought for a title. I thought even then, as I said those words to you, the guy that has the most upside in terms of power, and just looking at his size, Doug, he reminds me of a guy that was a personal favorite of both of ours, Chico Corrales.
Oh, that's high praise. Yeah. But I'll say this. I think he boxes at a distance better than Corrales. Now, Corrales had the height and the reach to be devastating from the outside, and sometimes he would be, but he preferred to fight on the inside.
Yeah.
And he didn't mind getting hit either.
Yeah, Diego was a guy that should have been fighting from long distance, but he loved the phone booth. There's no doubt about that.
He relished it, and I think Torres has good inside game. That was a nice hook right there. But I think he's at his best
Oh, that
when
right
he has
hand
range.
shakes him. Rodriguez hurt up along the rope. Seemed to be an overhand right hand that clipped him here early on in round number 2.
I like the lateral movement from Torres. His footwork, his balance.
Oh, quick left hook on the inside, Doug.
Yeah,
his ability to have long limbs but to shorten his punches, that is very Corrales-esque.
Yeah, and just getting maximum leverage on every shot. But it's an interesting comparison. I mean, you're saying he is a tall, explosive, thin man type of fighter. But I really like his technique and his mentality as a boxer. I think will serve him well. Corrales excelled almost in spite of himself.
Yeah.
You know, he would blow up in weight between fights and
there were other
spar
issues
himself.
too.
Yeah, he had all kinds. He was a drama king. But he loved to fight so much, you know, and sometimes he'd be in there with guys that he should have taken care of easier, like Justin Juco comes to mind. And it turns into a war, but he just didn't seem to mind that. And, you know, that mentality was one half of one of the greatest fights you and I ever had the privilege to be ringside for, and that was the first fight with Jose Luis Castillo. But,
Can you believe that's 15 years ago, Doug?
Time flies.
2005.
Time flies when you're having fun. But, you know, what's really fun is watching guys like Torres evolve from the 4- and 6-round level to the 8-round level where he is now, and I'm pretty sure next year we'll see him in 10-rounders and eventually on TV because you know, he's the perfect kind of fighter for the Showbox series or that new series, that Ring City USA.
Doing a great job there with that.
Yeah.
Good right hand over the top. Looks like Rodriguez again is hurt.
Rodriguez is ridiculously tough. I mean, good grief.
Well, we listed the names that he's fought in the past, like Pedraza and Mario Barrios. There's a reason why Alex Campanova, the matchmaker, chose him. He wants to use this as a barometer just to find out exactly where is Ace Torres.
Yeah, and he wants to get him rounds as well.
Hey, follow up. He's right there, leaning back.
10 seconds. Stop at the bell. 10 segundos. Stop.
And that's the end of round number 2. Our main event here from the Omega Products Event Center. Final card of 2020 for Thompson Boxing. 3-2-1 boxing. Doug, you talk about the rites of passage of any young fighter. We both spoke to Danny Zamora, the trainer-manager, right there speaking to his fighter. Last summer's been very, very productive, if not in the number of fights, but the fact that he was in camp with Jose Zepeda, Arnold Barbosa, and Oscar Valdez as they prepared for their respective fights.
Yeah, he gave them good work. Yeah, I guess that makes sense because Valdez is preparing for Miguel Burchell.
Yes.
Tall, rangy boxer, puncher.
Zepeda had a war against Baranchik.
Yeah.
Jeez. And
Ruben
Barbosa
got him
cemented
ready for
himself
that.
as a junior welterweight contender. So that's
Yeah, he
quality
is.
work.
Yeah, Barbosa is ring rated at 140 pounds. And Torres could easily fight at 140 pounds with his frame and all. But being 23 years old, I'm sure he can make 135 easily.
Well, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but he is 23 years old. You just look at that long torso, and you can see the physical development. It's not out of the question to think one day this kid will be a welterweight.
Yeah. And part of his ability to go up to the heavier weight classes is going to be his technique.
Yeah.
You know, when he can't just overpower guys, he'll be able to fall back on his boxing ability. But that's tremendous sparring, though. That's great gym experience. That's why Southern California is such a hotbed for boxing, because all of the quality gyms out here, the quality work, and just training around fighters of all levels. You know, for guys who are up and comers like Torres, to spar with men who have challenged for a world title or have held a world title, you know, or just maybe 1 or 2 years ahead of him. That's motivational, but it's also like a classroom. They're just learning from them, even when they're not sparring with them.
It's about a year ago before the Legends Gym. in Bellflower closed down, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, Danny Zamora would bring his crew of guys, which included Dutch over, to spar when the gym was being run there by Manny Robles. And you could see Torres at times would have problems with these veteran fighters. But that's how you get better. There is that old phrase, iron sharpens iron. That couldn't be any more true than the sport of boxing.
He's looking razor sharp right now. Stop! I mean, there's not a lot to critique about his technique. And he's boxing the right fight, and he's earned Rodriguez's respect. Now, Rodriguez showing that experience and savvy, he was able to sneak a camouflage left uppercut in there. Well, Rodriguez needs to start making some things happen. He's got to roll the dice and, you know, punch from long range. Try to be unpredictable, but he's got to get some respect because Torres is just breaking him down systematically.
These type of rounds are so valuable, Doug. I mean, look, as I think as eye-opening as a guy like Edgar Berlanga has been, it comes to a point, as much as you're impressed by him, he also leaves a lot of questions because you wonder, is this the next Tyrone Brunson or is this real? Rounds like this, matchmakers absolutely love this type of development.
Yeah, and we've seen it with fighters who are, you know, going to be in the Hall of Fame. You know, Bruce Trampler putting Miguel Cotto in with, trying to think of this fighter. It was John Brown, little short fire plug. It took Cotto 10 rounds, and Cotto was so upset with himself because he didn't score the knockout. And Trampler told him in the dressing room, like, no, I wanted you to go 10 rounds. You need this.
Well, look, Teofimo Lopez, who I believe has made incredible strides and is going to be up for a lot of awards. It wasn't that long ago. People were questioning him because he went the distance with Masayoshi Nakatani.
Right.
And it turns out now, in retrospect, that was a pretty damn good victory.
It was a good victory, and he needed to go 12 rounds. You need to know you can go 12 rounds before you share the ring with somebody like Vasily Lomachenko.
Last 3 victories for Teofimo Lopez: Nakatani, Richard Comey, and Lomachenko. That's a pretty damn good run for a fighter his age.
Yeah, and even though he was only able to fight once in 2020, like most elite fighters, like most fighters now, period, he made the most of it with a pound-for-pound changing of the guard.
So we enter round number 4 here, Torres and Rodriguez. And let's see if Torres begins to really attack the body and tries to put an exclamation point on this year and what will be his final appearance of 2020. So far, he's been in control, most likely pitching a shutout through 3. See Rodriguez now switching to the southpaw stance.
Yeah, and letting his hands go a little bit more. Now, Rodriguez is a 10-round fighter. He's used to going 10 rounds, so it's probably not uncommon for him maybe to give away the first 2 rounds, which he certainly did. I don't want to say he gave them away. I'm going to say Torres took them. But I expect him to up his level of punch output in round 4 going forward. And yeah, as you can see, 30-27, Ace Torres. He's absolutely dominated the first 9 minutes. See how big Torres' eyes get?
Yeah, wide open.
I mean, he doesn't miss anything. He's watching everything. And I think that sends a message to his opponent, like, don't try anything sneaky, man. I'm watching you. I got you right where I want you.
Oh, good left hook on the inside.
Yes.
That seemed to send Rodriguez back on his heel. Oh, big uppercut! Rodriguez hurt. Cailles Jr. looking in carefully.
And this is some veteran experience right here. Rodriguez actually surviving this. And punching back. Props to the Mexican veteran. That uppercut would have done a lot of lightweights in.
Big moment here. Round number 4 for Torres, shaking up Rodriguez. Rodriguez, though, seems to have found himself and has recovered fairly well. For a quick second, Raul Cailles Jr. was looking in on the verge of stopping the action.
Fairly well. That was miraculous. I would have stopped it. Good grief. So the book on Rodriguez, okay? Bad physique, great chin.
And
Don't judge him by his midsection.
Well, that midsection just took another left hook to the body.
No punch, no punch. No.
No, he could take it to the
But
head.
again, this is why a guy like him keeps getting work from matchmakers throughout the country. He just finds a way to be durable time and time again. A big round number 4 for Ruben Torres, who hurts Jose Luis Rodriguez. We are halfway through this scheduled 8-round main event.
Torres is on the hunt. Straight 1-2 from the outside. Backs Rodriguez up against the ropes. Left hook, right uppercut. I don't know how Rodriguez stayed on his feet. We'll see another angle of it. 1-2s backing him up. There was a body shot that strayed low. He landed the hook and then the uppercut, and he went for the finish. And Rodriguez, falling back on that experience that he has, he was able to survive that moment. But that wasn't just veteran's guile. That was just incredible heart.
I think that's really impressive about that sequence for Torres was the speed, his ability to accelerate, make his punches nice and compact, and just go bang, bang, bang. Just that ability to pull the trigger time and time again in short areas.
Well, and he can do it from long range, he can do it from mid-range, and he can do it on the inside. The long-range 1-2 combination was backing Rodriguez to the ropes. Right before his back touches the ropes, he's landed some hooks from mid-range, and then once he's in close with Rodriguez firmly pressed against those ropes, then he uncorks another hook, a body shot, and that right uppercut. And I'm telling you, would have finished a lot of guys. That right uppercut would have finished a lot of durable junior welterweights.
Again, keep this in mind about Rodriguez. He went the 8-round.
Man.
Hurt again.
Yeah.
But Rodriguez went 8 rounds with Pedraza, saw the distance, went 10 rounds with Sharif Bulgari, and then went the 10-round distance with Felix Verdeo. As you mentioned, Doug, only Mario Barrios was able to stop him inside the distance, taking 7 rounds to do so.
And he landed his share of effective blows against Barrios. And we should add Barrios is a legitimate junior welterweight contender now. Had way more fights. I think Barrios at the time was 18-0.
And I believe Barrios now holds a version of the WBA
he's got like the
title.
WBA regular title, or maybe the WBA interim title.
They have a lot of titles, the WBA.
Or maybe the WBA gold title. I don't know. He's got a WBA trinket.
For Ruben Torres, this is his 3rd bout of 2020. Safe to say, without the COVID situation, he'd probably be on his 4th or 5th bout. And Doug, I get the sense in 2021 we will eventually see him sooner or later in 10-round contests.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if his first fight of 2021 is a 10-rounder, or at least scheduled at 10 rounds. Who knows if it actually goes 10 rounds. But just like his stablemate Michael Dutchover eventually found himself fighting on Showbox, that's where I can see Torres at some point next year.
And speaking of Dutchover, who was scheduled to headline this card, of being told by Danny Zamora that most likely his return will take place in February when Thompson Boxing will probably stage its first show of the year.
Very hard to get off against Torres. Like we noted in the previous round, he's watching everything his opponent does, and he gets into a certain position where the opponent knows that he's ready to block or to make a miss and counter.
As we head into round 5 of our main event, Doug, on Friday, Gennady Golovkin got back on the winning track after a 14-month layoff against Kamir Serzmeta. Your thoughts on his outing?
he did what we expected him to do. He looked good, looked really good. His body looked good at the weigh-in. I thought he recaptured his form, but it's easier to recapture your peak technique than it is to recapture your youth.
Yeah.
So he's still a 38-year-old going on 39, and it showed after the 4th round, I thought. He was breathing kind of heavy. The technique dropped off just a little bit, but he was still dominant. And the jab is still an elite level jab. He can. That's always going to be his saving grace. But we saw a lot of better accuracy with his other power punches and better defense. This is really important. Jonathan Banks, I think some of what they've been going over at the gym with their 3rd camp finally sank in. And I saw some decent head and upper body movement from Golovkin.
Yeah, I spoke to Jonathan Banks on Saturday night. He's pleased. He thinks it is coming together, but you're right, Doug. 38 is 38. There has to be a natural physical erosion. Still get the sense that, look, and I think you've said this for a while, his physical peak was the David Lemieux fight, fall of 2015, and there's been that expected decline, as subtle as it's been. Look, he's still a very tough out at 160. Not so sure he'll ever be able to recapture that dominance of 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah. Listen, just a couple years ago, going into the first fight with Canelo Alvarez, Golovkin was Ring Magazine's pound-for-pound #1 rated fighter. And Canelo was somewhere in the top 10. And now it's Canelo Alvarez is the #1 pound-for-pound fighter by the Ring Magazine and most outlets. And we currently have Golovkin at number 10 pound-for-pound. But he's still #1 rated middleweight. And he's earned that. And he did answer some questions against Seremeta because his previous bout against Sergey Derevyanchenko was so grueling that a lot of people were saying, well, at his age, he can't have a tough fight like that and not have a lot taken away from him. So a lot of people were thinking, oh, maybe he'll be a shell of himself. Well, that's not the case. I mean, he's still a handful. And I still think he would give Canelo Alvarez, as good as Alvarez looked against Callum Smith on Saturday, I still think Golovkin, just because of his experience and their experience together, those 2 previous fights, but mainly that jab that Golovkin has, I still think he presents problems for Canelo.
I don't disagree. There's such a personal animus in the history between those two. I think some of the tangibles are not spoken about in that particular matchup. Anyway, we get back here to the action, round number 6. It's been an economical round for Ruben Torres, in control against the grizzled veteran Jose Luis Rodriguez.
Yeah, and I can see Torres working on some of his defense. He's doing a good job blocking punches. Love to see him parry and counter off of a parry. You know, like catch a punch, that same hand, turn it into a shot. But you can tell he's well schooled and he's a good student. I love the jab to the chest and the midsection of Rodriguez. Rodriguez can take anything to the head, but I think jabs to his body will tucker him out and also just kind of keep him in line for the other power punches.
And this is the final Thompson Boxing card of 2020. And Doug, speaking to Ken Thompson a little earlier in the night, he says that the plan, I think Alex Campanova told you this, is to go in February. And then I did ask him, do you have more or less a normal schedule plan for 2021? And Mr. Thompson was very honest. He said, Steve, the way the world is right now with the legislation, it's hard to make any long-term plans.
Yeah.
But if they had their druthers next year, they plan to go about every 6 weeks. So if you're under the Thompson Boxing banner, like a Ruben Torres, you are going to find steady, consistent work next year.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, and if things don't change, if there's still COVID-19 related restrictions, they've got a nice setup here in Corona. That's the Thompson Boxing bubble. But I would hope before the end of 2021 that we could have some shows.
Yeah, yesterday
yeah.
when Eddie Hearn made the announcement of the Chocolatito Estrada rematch, look, Eddie has told me for a couple months he would love to have that fight in Carson, California at the War Grounds, but there's a reality. Those decisions are completely out of his hands.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe the fight even winds up in Mexico, you know. But what I was going to say is I would hope that before the end of next year that Thompson Boxing can stage some shows back in Ontario, the Doubletree Hotel.
I miss those $6.50 nachos.
Everybody does.
Yeah. It's the best meal money can buy.
But I think people miss the energy of those shows when you can have a live audience. I think Rodriguez still has the will to stay in there, but there's really nothing left in his body to offer any sort of offense. There's just nothing on the punches of Rodriguez. So right now, his sole goal is to go rounds and to be as pesky as possible.
Valuable rounds, though, I think, for any prospect, especially a heavy-handed, explosive puncher like Torres. Look, he's going to have a lot of nights that are very short. He's probably not going to see rounds 3, 4, and 5, but there's at a certain plateau of this sport, you're going to have to learn how to swim in the deep end of the pool.
It's true. You have to learn with, you know, how to deal with an opponent who's going to try to tie you up on the inside, who's cagey, a little bit unpredictable. I think you call this professional resistance.
Yeah.
A lesser fighter, if they just, you know, if Thompson put him in with a journeyman who's tough but is not going to even try, right? Somebody just cover up and retreat. He doesn't get anything out of this.
Yeah,
but at least with Rodriguez, he's coming forward and he's winging shots. There's nothing on those shots anymore, but at least he's in there trying. And that's the resistance. That's, you know, that's how an up-and-comer learns.
There's two ways you could have it. You could develop a real fighter, or you could make a highlight tape. And sometimes the highlight tape is really a mirage.
True.
Based on matchmaking, and very soft matchmaking at that. I mean, trust me, if you talk to the top-ranked brass, they are still a little bit unsure about exactly what is Berlanga.
Right.
And Berlanga's at that point. He wants to get paid money. So here's the issue. If you want to get paid money, you got to fight somebody.
Yeah.
And that's it. One more round to go in what is the final round of 2020 for Thompson Boxing. The final installment for 2020 of 3-2-1 Boxing. This is the fourth show since the summer at the Omega Products Event Center in Corona, California.
Here at the Omega Products International Event Center, one more to go. This is the 8th and final round.
All right, so they touch him up here. 8th and final frame between Torres and Rodriguez. Young Ruben Torres, 23 years old, has been in control since the onset and really hurt Rodriguez pretty badly about 3 rounds ago, but Rodriguez, to his credit, was able to stay on his feet and survive. Most likely will hear the final bell.
And that's a good experience for Torres. Just to
Doug,
say, hey, I fought an 8-rounder.
Doug, if you're Torres, do you want to put an exclamation point, or do you want to just kind of play it safe here and get to the next year?
I'd want to close the show. Show, you know, you prove to yourself that you could pace yourself 8 rounds and have energy and not be beat up and not be fatigued. So you got a guy in there who, you know, you've taken the wind out of his sails. You almost had him out. You know, I still don't know how he stood up to that uppercut in round 4. But Yeah, if you can get the knockout, go for it. Or a knockdown. That's a good way to punctuate a fight.
Rodriguez really is a definition of a veteran caginess.
Yeah.
Just knows how to survive, and that's why an individual like him, he will always find consistent work with matchmakers. At that 8 to 10 round level, you have a bright young prospect coming up, and we've listed some of the names before. He's the type of guy you want in there because he's gonna give you rounds at the very least.
Rounds and resistance.
And keep this in mind for Rodriguez, this is his first fight of 2020.
He must have had a decent camp for this fight, though. Seriously, otherwise he's just naturally one of the toughest guys out there. You know, one thing I will note is that Torres was tapping that body a lot more in the early rounds. And then I think after landing that uppercut, he was kind of directing more shots to the head. But I think had Torres invested a little bit more to the body or committed a little bit more to the body or was more consistent with the body work, maybe he could have worn him down to a stoppage by now. But there's not a lot to criticize about this performance. I mean, technically speaking, Torres is just a joy to watch. I mean, he just doesn't do a lot of things wrong. He does most things right. He's a power boxer. Smart, technical boxing with a lot of leverage in those punches.
And I should have mentioned this before, but Rodriguez's last bout was March of 2019 against junior welterweight contender Antonio Orozco, where he went the 10-round distance.
You know what? And he might have won a couple rounds in that fight. He was actually competitive in that fight.
So honest, nice work put in by Jose Luis Rodriguez and some sharp work put in by Ruben Torres, who most likely will move to 14-0, and certainly a young prospect to look out for on the West Coast.
And there's my scorecard. It's a shutout, 80-72, and I expect the 3 official judges to have the same tally. I like how they put on that graphic Doug Fisher's unofficial scorecard, as if people didn't know that. Wait, they're like, what? It's not official? Dougie's opinion is not official? No, I often say it's my scorecard is very unofficial.
All right, as we wait for the judges to tally their scorecards, we'll return. Here's a message from our sponsors. We'll be back.
Discover the advantages of the Henry Fortifiber 1-2-3 moisture control system. It's as simple as 1, 2, 3. Choose the weather barrier, add the flashing, then finish up with the Henry Moist Top Sealant. Done. No guessing, no gambling. Just the winning confidence you get from our compatible systems.
Experience the world's largest compatible cordless system. Makita's LXT batteries take you from power tools to outdoor power equipment. The blower delivers power comparable to a 24cc gas model. From the job site to your home, reach speeds of 116 miles per hour. Use Makita's cordless products anytime, anywhere. One system, endless possibilities. Now get 2 extra free batteries.
After going all 8 rounds here at the Omega Products International Event Center, Judge Stevens scores the bout 79-73. And judges Villarreal and Barragan score the bout identically at 80-72. All 3 in favor of the winner by way of unanimous decision. Ruben Torres.
So Ruben Torres runs his mark to 14-0. Didn't get the knockout, but gets some valuable experience. And Doug, I think the words of Julius Julianis of Twitter really speak well of this performance. And he notes, it is very difficult to KO Rodriguez. He has faced hard punchers, and only Mario Barrios could KO him in quote-unquote recent years.
Julius knows what he's talking about. Ron Scott Stevens found a round to give to Rodriguez.
Holiday spirit.
That's what I was going to say.
Generosity.
Yeah, exactly.
Of Christmas.
Yes, yes. He you know what? He was probably moved by just the way that this guy was able to stand up to so much punishment, so much accurate power punching. But looking forward to big things from Torres. He's got the right people around him. He has the natural ability and the right mindset to continue to improve. And I can't wait to see what this guy looks like when he's 18-0 or 19-0 or with 20 fights.
He's got some versatility to him. He can box you from the outside using that long, educated left hand, which he's sharpening. And as we saw in spurts, he's got that ability to make his punches very short and compact on the inside. And that type of versatility you're going to need at the world-class level. Look, tonight he fought a bit of a veteran survivor. When there's more or less two-way action against guys willing to take risks, that's when things really open up. So as you look ahead to 2021 and you make your list of prospects to watch for your publication, we all have our list.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind Ruben Torres should be on a short list of blue-chip prospects to look out for.
Yeah, and I mean he's a little bit under the radar right now because he fights on streams. He hasn't been fighting on TV, but once he's showcased on TV, that bandwagon is good. It's gonna fill up.
All right, let's see what Ace has to say. He's with Jessica Rosales.
All right, guys. Well, here we are with Ace Torres, who is ending 2020, improving his record to 14-0. First off, tell us, how does it feel after those 8 rounds? We know that tonight was kind of an important night to see where your skills matched up.
Right. I feel like I did a good job. I kept my composure. You see, I'm not really experienced with cuts, but I think I handled it pretty well. I still feel good. I could have gone the extra 4 if it was a championship fight. Some things to go work on in the gym, but we got the win, and I'm happy for it.
And one of the things that we do know is Rodriguez said his experience was going to be the most trouble for you in the ring. We did see that in the 4th when you had that left hook and the uppercut. Kind of looked like you could have finished it, but he kept his composure in there. I think that's where that vet experience came from. Tell us about that, and were you a little frustrated not to end it there?
No, not frustrated. I definitely wanted to get the knockout, like I said, but yeah, he's a vet. He's been there before many times, so he just bit down, and I got a little wild. I wanted to take him out, and he knew what he was doing. He grabbed onto me. I think I hurt him a couple rounds down, but then again, he hugged me right away, and he got his balance right away. So he's definitely a vet, and hats off to him.
Yeah, and you know, one of the things tonight, like we said in that 4th, we liked how you put that left hook and that uppercut. You kind of put that into a combination together. But tonight, what was the best punch for you? Where did you feel most comfortable using?
Well, being that he was switching, I wasn't expecting him to do that. So I started throwing right hands, and I felt like those were landing a lot. So probably my right hand and my jab, trying to keep him at a distance, but he was awkward.
Yeah. And I got to say, one of the things that I like when we've seen you fight is that fan base that you bring. Things have been a little different because of COVID. You know, we don't have those fans here, but I will tell you, I saw so many comments on the stream. Your fan base came through. They were supporting you. A lot of them saying, hey, we want to see that knockout. We want to see the fight end. What do you want to say to those fans that come out, that support you through and through all the time.
Shout out to fans. You know, we definitely wouldn't be here without them. So thank you to everybody who watched, who tuned in, who commented, who shared the fight and made sure their relatives and homies watched it. I appreciate y'all. Shout out to y'all, the family, friends, everybody.
All right, and of course tonight's performance, you said that you wanted to prove that you are among the best in your weight class. You wanted to get that W and get on that right foot. So in 2021, based on what you showed tonight, what do you think is next? What's coming up for you?
Keep winning, another win. Hopefully top of the year, let this cut heal back. We'll be back in the gym probably before Christmas, so you never know, a lot can happen in a year. So just look forward to the top of the year, getting back to winning.
Yeah, all right, last show. So what do you want to say to everybody? Any happy holiday messages, anything good like that?
Yeah, definitely. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's. It's been a tough year, so we're just glad to end it on a good note. Everybody, you made it this far, so just keep pushing. Stay 10 toes down, baby. Let's go. Happy New Year.
All right, Ace Torres ends the year with a record of 14-0. We'll be seeing him again in 2021 when Thompson Boxing returns. Thanks again for the time. As always, great talking to you, and congratulations on the win tonight.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Later.
See you then. All right, guys, so it is the end of our coverage in 2020, so I am going to say my goodbyes. And I do want to say a big thank you to all of the fans who have tuned in, who have supported this broadcast. Of course, an even bigger thank you to the team behind me, including, Doug Fisher, Steve Kim, Beto Duran, Rich Murata, all the guys that I've been able to share this screen time with. And a big thank you to everybody with Thompson Boxing for the opportunity and to allow us to continue doing these shows. And a bigger thank you to the fans, especially Boxing Twitter, everyone that joins in on the live stream. You guys keep the fights entertaining, keep me laughing, and I love all your guys' input. So thank you guys again. Happy holidays, and we will see you again in 2021. But for now, we'll send it back over to Steve Kim and Doug Fisher.
Thank you very much, Steve, Kim, Doug Fisher, wrapping it up here, literally, no pun intended. Interesting night, though. We saw a little bit of everything, beginning with a dramatic turnaround by Richard Brewart.
Yep, we got a shootout where we saw a young up-and-comer get hurt for the first time, get dropped, and we saw that he had character. He's more than boxing talent and technique. He's got that will to survive when he's faced with adversity. And I like the way Brewart remained composed, set up his punches, got some respect immediately before the close of the round, and he did so when he wasn't on solid footing. Yeah. You could tell he was still a little bit glazed over. He recovered well during that minute. I don't know what our good friend Henry Ramirez told him, but he said the right things because he came out and he landed the right punches, and he set up that overhand right to the ear beautifully, and that was a dramatic knockout.
Yeah, then in the second bout, a hard scrap is the best way to put it between Mario Hernandez and Saul Sanchez.
Firefight.
Winning an 8-round decision. I think at the end of the day, his punches were just a little bit faster, a little bit quicker, seemed to do a little bit more damage. A dogged, determined effort by Hernandez, but just could not match the arsenal of the beast.
Well, both guys earned their money tonight. They worked very hard. Obviously, Sanchez was the favorite coming in. He's just younger, taller, rangier, just naturally bigger, stronger, the better athlete all around. And yet, it wasn't a walk in the park because of the character of the more mature Hernandez. And Hernandez made it a fight. And even though, on my scorecard, Sanchez won 6 out of 8 rounds, he had to earn those rounds. And what I like about it is at some point, he stopped loading up so much. I think it was in the 7th round. He boxed a disciplined round. He controlled the distance against a guy whose only opportunity to make the fight competitive is on the inside, And I like that in the 8th round that Hernandez still fought through that. He had trouble with the lateral movement, had trouble with the jab. He was getting hit with 1-2 combinations that were knocking his head back and knocking him off balance. And yet he would steady himself and steel himself and get right back in the wheelhouse. And you have to admire that.
And wrapping up the year and the night of the final fight card of the 3-2-1 boxing series presented by Thompson Boxing, Ruben Ace Torres got some valuable seasoning against a grizzled veteran.
Yeah, this was the virtuoso performance. This was the performance of the night. It was one-sided. It was a shutout on my card. But he was in there with a guy who wouldn't go away. So he had to remain disciplined and focused in his attack, and I think he did that. And I still I don't know how Rodriguez survived that uppercut in round 4. He would have had a knockout against a lot of grizzled veterans. But kudos to the matchmaking of Thompson Boxing. They found somebody that could take that young man 8 rounds, and those 8 rounds were serve him well going into next year.
Yeah, and we wrap up 2020, and I think it's the year of COVID. That's just the best way to say it. It's really affected every part of our lives, personally and professionally, throughout the world, for everybody. And for you, you've worked every one of these 3-2-1 shows inside this warehouse. What are some of your thoughts? I mean, this is my first time here, and it's such a neat setup.
I like it.
And it really speaks to the perseverance, not just of Thompson Boxing, but of Top Rank with their bubble. PBC got their business started. So Eddie Hearn did a lot of work. My admiration for these companies who I think just kept this business going. Look, nobody's going to feel sorry for you. You either move forward with your business or you might end up dying on the vine.
It's true.
And I feel for any small business owner out there, but I have a great admiration for any promotional outfit that just kept operations running the last several months.
I like that they changed the format. They went to just 3 fights, 3-2-1 boxing. I like the concept of competitive fights, one right after the other, not wasting a lot of time. They did right by themselves, and they did right by their fighters by keeping them busy. It's great that a guy like Ruben Torres can fight 3 times during a pandemic, and they did right by the fans and the matchmaking and the production, and just the style of the show I like because, especially with Beto, we just have fun.
Yeah.
Beto's really good with the social media, and there's a rapport between the people watching the stream from around the world. We talk to each other. We can talk about fighters who are not Thompson Boxing fighters. We can talk about everything else that's happening in the boxing world. So it's not like it's our side of the street or that sort of mentality. So it's a fun experience for me, and I just like what they did with it. It's a good environment, especially tonight.
Yeah.
You weren't here in the summer.
Yeah.
Summer when it's over 100 degrees, those are tough. Those are physically grueling. But we're on the safe side of the ropes, and so when the temperature is nice, we have the best seat in the house.
Yeah. So hopefully at some point next year, this operation will go back to the DoubleTree Hotel in Ontario and the regular destinations with fans all across the world being able to enjoy this great sport of professional prize fighting. So on behalf of Doug Fisher, Jessica Rosales, Ken Thompson, Alex Campanova, and the rest of the Thompson Boxing crew, I want to wish everyone out there a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Until next year, goodbye, everybody.